You like to prune. It's kind of a little zim of yours.
It is. It certainly is.
And so many people don't, I don't think they intentionally prune incorrectly. They just don't know the consequences of their actions. So,
Right.
So thank you for giving us a demonstration.
Pruning definitely has consequences. There's no doubt about it. And I'd like to discuss the first rule of pruning, particularly if you're wearing a bolo tie, is hide your tassels inside your shirt, otherwise you'll cut them off.
Okay.
So, the other thing about pruning that is important to know before you can really begin a discussion is to know what you're talking about. And it's important to realize that there's 3 different kinds of pruning. And you have selective pruning, you have shearing, and you have radical pruning.
All right.
And without understanding those basic concepts, you're kind of talking in circles and not understanding. Now, selective pruning is just simply the removal of offending branches or aberrant branches. Now, this is one of the Japanese hollies. This is a Hugendorn holly. And if you look at this, it's got some tips that are a little bit out of whack.
It could use...
What offends the eye? I mean, this branch here, with any selective pruning, every cut is made where one branch forks off from another. It's imperative in selective pruning that you never have mid-stem cuts. Now, when you make a mid-stem cut, you're going to get a plethora of branches erupting from that point. And it's really what we refer to as a chicken foot.
Yes, it is.
It's an unnatural habit of growth for the plant.
Unsightly.
Unsightly and unnatural.
So quietly show us why this is not a chicken, where you made the cut.
You make the cut where one fork breaks from another.
Okay.
Now, the resulting branch maintains dominance.
Yes.
And it will continue to grow. It won't fork and split and create a chicken foot. So what you do is you just
so you won't have a frizzle top.
You won't. You take the offending branches off, you know, where they fork. Now you may, sometimes, and I'll show you on the azalea, you may have to go deep inside this plant. I mean, this plant looks better already.
It sure does.
With just a few cuts. And I just make a few cuts and it's done. See,
it has come under control.
It is, it really, I mean, that's the natural look that you want. The other thing is, this plant is now loose and open and airy. It's healthy for the plant.
Sunlight can penetrate.
Exactly.
It doesn't have hiding places for insects.
Exactly.
Fungal disease is less likely to occur.
Exactly. A plant like this, Helleri holly, so frequently you will see somebody come along and just buzz it into a little ball, cut it into a geometric shape. That shearing, every place that a shear is made, that limb will chicken foot. It will create a whole series of branches, again, away from the natural habit of growth of the plant. And as an example, this is another of the Japanese hollies. It's compacta holly. It looks like a boxwood. Frequently people confuse these with boxwoods, but these are hollies. This is something we dug up off a job yesterday to throw away, but I saved it for the show today. This plant has been sheared its entire life. And
shearing means that someone's just come in and just
ran with hedge trimmers.
With either, or even an electric
or either one
instrument, and just giving it almost like a buzz cut. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
And I couldn't bring shears today because I don't own them. Yeah. But if you look inside this plant, there is no growth inside that plant. This is a breeding ground for disease and insects. All the foliage is on the outer 2 inches. Now, there are times when it is appropriate to shear. That's in a very formal setting. Shearing is the process of creating geometric shapes out of plants.
Like Pearl Fryer does.
Well, but he does a topiary, and it's totally appropriate with what he does. Absolutely appropriate. Yes. That's the look. And if you are going for a formal setting like, you know, a courthouse or a funeral parlor or sometimes a doctor's office or a bank or something like that, you can shear your plants into geometric shapes. Trapezoidal is the most effective, with the top narrower than the base.
So that the bottom does get sunlight.
The bottom gets sunlight. Nurserymen practice what's called the 1-2-3 rule. It's 1 foot across at the top, 2 feet wide at the base, 3 feet on the side. 2, 4, 6, 1, 2, 3, 3, 6, 9. but it needs a trapezoidal shape so that plants get sunlight all the way down to the bottom. Prevents it from being leggy. But
Durant, sometimes when I have been in situations like this, I have encouraged people to go in and actually cut some holes in the plant.
Very, very appropriate, and very appropriate with boxwood in particular.
That neat look that some people insist on having, but by doing that, I have encouraged some inner growth and have created some spaces for air to go in. So you do feel like that's an appropriate way to try to encourage the health of a plant that must be sheared.
Especially with boxwood. And as an example, you know, you can see some of the problems that arise from shearing. Now, if you'll look at this, some of the foliage is lighter colored than others.
Yes.
This is in the process of dying. This stem will die from stem rot. This has already died out. Now, this name for this problem is very sophisticated. It's called holly dieback.
Wow. How can I remember?
Yeah, but
okay.
You know, older hollies will get that. They're more prone to get that with heavy shearing. Again, it leads to more fungal
And I think you've got some other examples you're going to share with us too, Durant.
Well, we talked about selective pruning. We talked about
We're going to have to do some selecting if we're going to make something out of this.
No, there's not much to select. And this Cuba, variegated Cuba, has become leggy.
It has.
So there's no hope for it except for a radical prune.
Okay.
And when I say radical, I mean radical.
Wow.
So that's radical.
That's pretty radical.
Taking it back to 1/2 to 1/3 its present height.
1/2 to 1/3. All right.
Now, my recommended pruning regimen is lightly, selectively prune plants. As long as you have the right plant in the right place, you can allow them to grow to their natural size and shape. After about 5 or 7 years, plants never stop growing. After a while, they will be large.
You're going to have to.
And at that point, you take them back with a radical prune. Radical prune is best done March through July. When you do this in March, you get the new growth fairly quickly, and you don't have to look at the bare stems all winter long.
And we don't recommend painting or doing anything to these.
Don't need to do that. The painting, we found out, just has cosmetic benefits. Okay. You don't want to do much radical pruning after July because the new growth that comes on, you want to be sure that that hardens off before the freeze comes in the next year.
All righty.
So radical prune, March through July. Selective pruning, there's only 52 days a year you can't do selective pruning. That's on Sunday.
Okay. Okay.
You can do it any time. Right. And don't ever shear.
All right. Okay, you're going to talk about the azalea too?
Sure, be happy to.
And I'm going to say too, Durant, we usually try to move a plant by the pot.
That's right.
Rather than holding this because we might loosen and destroy the roots. Okay.
Very good.
And I'm going to squat down to save my back instead of bending over. Okay.
Use your legs.
Use your legs.
You just qualified to be on my crew.
Okay.
Here's an azalea we have, and you know, it's a nice azalea, but it's got a few problems. One problem, it got broken in transportation on the way down. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? If we don't cut it right there, if we do, we're going to get a whole series, we're going to get a chicken foot. So take it back where one branch forks off from another. And
we won't encourage more uncontrolled sprouting that we don't want. All right.
What is out of balance about this azalea? Well, obviously, you know, this offends the eye. It doesn't look right. So you take it and you have to take this one down deep inside the plant.
Because we're going where two stems come together.
Yes, the
never
fork.
Just making a cut in the middle of a
Never
stem.
a mid-stem fork.
All right.
Or, let's see. You know, 4 cuts.
And then just continue along the same. Durant, I think we've gotten the gist of it, and I think that people would do
the 3 types.
a better job.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't want to shear if we can avoid it.
Right.
And normally we selectively prune. Every now and then we've got to say, you know what, buddy, you're a little too big for your britches. We've got to bring you down to scale, and we've got to do some radical pruning.
Exactly, that's it.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful demonstration.
Well, sure, thank you.
Okay.